live, no, not from Sydney, Australia, live from Palm Beach, Florida. But we have our Sydney background again tonight because we spent a lot of time on the prior show talking about Sydney. We are going to talk about it on this show, but we're also going to have with us live a very, very excellent reporter from Rhode Island who has a radio talk show every day in Rhode Island and covers it very carefully, and has probably more information than anyone on the Brown case, which is a bit of a whodunit and head scratcher, and of course tremendous tragedy. And we don't know if we can. I think this way, and we don't know if we can put it in the category of the horrible carnage in Sydney, or the killing in Syria by Islamic extremists. We don't know that, and the question is, what was the motive? It is unknown at this point. There is a rather authoritative leak that the police have concluded that the target was Elle Cook, the young lady from, I think, Alabama, who was the head of the Republican Club and a very religious Catholic girl, who was the first of the two that was killed. But even that has not been acknowledged. And there, of course, was an original statement that before the shooter shot, he said something. Now, there's no doubt that he did. There are a lot of people, but there is confusion as to what he said. Some of the early reports were Allahu Akbar. They have not been confirmed. The professor who at least gave his version says he couldn't tell what he said. But let's put that aside for a moment. There's no question that what we're seeing is another manifestation of the Islamic war against Western civilization. Now, when we say that, we always would say Islamic extremist war against Western civilization. Even that, of course, people dispute, but they can't. Not if you were there on September 11. You can't. And don't try to do it with me, or you're not going to get very far. But I think we make a mistake now in saying just Islamic extremist, because the Muslims had enough time to wipe this out. And they haven't. I mean, this has been a long time now that people have been killing in the name of the Prophet, and in the name of their God. How many people have to be killed in the name of Muhammad so that Muslims have to take responsibility for changing this? I think more than enough. And I haven't seen any Muslim leader stand up and condemn what happened in Australia, huh? And I see an awful lot of Muslims stand up and give all kinds of excuses for October 7 and the savage attack on innocent Jewish people who had nothing to do with anything being done to the Palestinians. I mean, the Palestinians' real anger should be at their crooked leadership, their terrorist and crooked leadership. They don't have a single close to legitimate person in their leadership. If they're Hamas, they're terrorists, and if they're Fatah, they are retired terrorists who found it better to steal money than to kill them. And the reason for their tremendous poverty, Israel hasn't stolen the money from them. Their leaders have. Israel has plenty of money of its own. And this idea that we give Israel all kinds of money is another ridiculous thing. We give them between $3 and $4 billion a year. And it's for very specific, it's a very specific 10-year formula. Israel is one of the stronger economies in the world. There's a reason they're not like Israel. And it has nothing to do with Israel. It has to do with them. In fact, most often, failures have to do with you, not someone else. And when you hear people playing the victim game too much, generally it's an excuse for their own crimes, inadequacies, difficulties, problems they create for themselves. So the two killers in Australia fall into another category that is extraordinarily disturbing. It seems like every one of these Islamic extremist murderers who never are condemned by the Muslim community, the one that we're supposed to always say, well, a majority of Muslims are very good people and they don't want to kill and they don't want to harm anybody and they want to be just like us. Gee, have you seen one on television in the last 3 days condemn one of those people who's just like us in the Muslim community? I mean, I invite you to come on my show and condemn what Naveed Akram and his father Sajid did in murdering these innocent people in Australia. If you would like to come on and do that, I'd be overjoyed. I mean, I've even believed through September 11 that there was a majority of the Muslim community that stood against the radicals. When they tell you people celebrated in New Jersey and in Brooklyn, it is true. They did. Did we suppress that somewhat? I didn't, but I think we did. Do we suppress a lot of this in the name of, I don't know what, feeling good about ourselves? But do we deprive you then of really knowing what you're facing the way people did with Hitler? There's no doubt we do. So let's measure this by how many Muslims we see on national and international TV and media joining with us, telling this has to stop. The killing of Jews and of Christians has to stop. Jews and Christians don't exist to be slaughtered by Muslims. I want to hear a Muslim say that. One of those majority of Muslims who are good people, honest people, lovely people. It doesn't do any good any longer to just keep it inside and protect yourself, because you're killing us in numbers that are unacceptable. What you did what you did, or what was done in your name in Australia, is a travesty. Condemn it. Condemn October 7 and tell those rat shit kids who go out in the street protesting they're a bunch of jackasses and morons. It's because not enough Muslims stand up and say that. I don't know how many times I've had to say, well, the Muslim community is mostly, but where are you mostly? What is it going to take to give you the guts to stand up? Does the rest of the religion teach enough decency so you're against it? And then, is it a religion? Can a religion be created by a pedophile murderer? He was. I don't know, put out another fatwa on me if you want. But he was. He dug graves for Jews. Who does that sound like? And the chief mufti in Palestine, the wonderful Palestinians, was an ally of Hitler. Good friend too. Yeah, I know. We got that jackass who says that Hitler's a good guy, but we did a pretty good job on him in the podcast, didn't we, Ted? Mm-hmm. Hope we wiped him out. Just go listen to the podcast and see what you think of Tucker Carlson's best friend. You want some good news?
Yeah, I mean, oh my goodness, we've been so full.
Okay.
Tragic news these last
one of the countries that leads in birth rate? Not America.
Not America, that's for sure. Israel?
You got it. And it's not just the Orthodox. It's all the entire country. And a very, very good article. Please read it today. It might turn your mind on abortion and all this other stuff. And also why abortion started with Planned Parenthood, that obnoxious, horrible, homicidal organization that wants to end up creating a pure species, somewhat Nazi-ish. William McGurn tells us the story today of a writer named Julian Simon, who died in 1998, but he had an influence on McGurn when McGurn was a young reporter, and he wrote a book called The Ultimate Resource. And in the book, he pointed out that too many humans is not a problem, that too many humans are not going to deprive the world of food. They're going to create more food. Because he pointed out that human beings have minds also, and that the more minds, the more creative the solutions to life's problems. And all great societies had positive growth rates. Today, China's population is Israel stands out for its birth rate. In fact, in the 38 democracies, it has the highest birth rate. The average birth rate for the 38 most established democracies is 1.5. 2.17 is the rate at which you replenish yourself. And the birth rate among in Israel is 3.0. And secular Jewish women have a birth rate much higher than their non-Jewish counterparts. Of course, religious people have the highest birth rate because God commanded us to multiply. One might remember that from the book of Genesis. So let's talk a little about Ukraine. Ukraine is hard to tell. Let's just put it that way. The Europeans seem to be getting ready for a cave-in. The Europeans seem to be thinking and saying that Trump is not going to bring Ukraine out of this in a way that, or let's put it this way, they're going to come out of it in a way that makes Russia even more anxious to spread into Ukraine again by giving them open doors. And also it's going to show the weakness of the U.S. Support for Europe. And European security officials have actually put out reports saying, get ready for a conflict with with Russia. Friedrich Merz, who's the chancellor of Germany, equates Putin's strategy to that of Hitler in 1938 when he seized the Sudetenland region of Czechoslovakia, saying, oh, they're really Germans. We should be able to take them. And Merz has said if Ukraine fails, he's not going to stop there. Mark Rutte, who is a good friend of President Trump, says we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents or great-grandparents endured. The worry is that the U.S. will push Kiev to accept a lopsided deal, and they don't have any other choice. Now, the UK's threat assessment is that Russia will continue to try to destabilize Europe until somehow, some way, Putin is forced to change his calculus. So far, Putin hasn't been challenged. Now, here's the problem. Only a third of Europeans are willing to fight to defend their country. And the last time a poll was done, only 41% of Americans. I refuse to accept that. But I guess I better, just in case, huh? And this report points out that the telltale sign is that Russia is producing a lot more than it needs to defeat Ukraine. And what they're saying is that people have to be educated the way they were, or educated again like they were in the 30s after the appeasement strategies of Chamberlain and others didn't have them ready for war against Hitler. So we are now supposedly have an agreement worked out where the U.S. will satisfy Ukraine on the security guarantees. Now, what that would mean is a Article 5 provision, which, according to the leaks, and would be confirmed by the Senate, because quite rightly, Zelensky will not accept it, just from the president and the administration, because he has one of those already, going back to 1994 or so, or three. We agreed that we would defend Ukraine, the United States did, if they were to be attacked by Russia. Were they attacked by Russia? Mm-hmm. Did we defend them? Mm-hmm. So he wants it approved by the Senate. It would not necessarily, it wouldn't mean that they went into NATO. Wouldn't mean they didn't go into NATO. But it would mean that they had the same guarantee that all the NATO members have, and it is this: that if you are attacked, then all the NATO members come to your defense, and most particularly, the one that really matters, the United States of America. And apparently, Trump, to get the peace, is willing to push that, and he's also willing to get it confirmed by the Senate. We'll see. I mean, we've gone up a lot of blind alleys here. If this were part of the agreement, some of the other concessions required of Ukraine would be less onerous, because the main thing is to have the backing of NATO. Russia's going to have to go a long way and destroy its economy in order to be able to match NATO, with the United States supporting NATO. Now, they may not agree to this. There are experts, including Martin Guri, who say that Putin's not going to give up on this war, no matter, this war ends when Putin dies. And then a lot of Russian experts feel that we could get a very rational solution, because they're not sure that this war is supported that strongly by the rest of the regime in Russia that this is a Putin. And you say wanting to recreate the Soviet Union. It never has been. It's wanting to recreate the Russian Empire. I tell you this: he doesn't want to be Khrushchev or Brezhnev. He wants to be Peter the Great. The countries he's focusing on are countries that were arguably part of Russia under the Russian Empire, not arguably part of Russia under the Soviet. He's not looking for the Czech Republic back, and I doubt that he's looking for Poland back. That would be a hell of a war. But he is looking for Lithuania back, and Latvia, and Estonia, and Belarus, and Ukraine, who were often, at times not, at times as part of the Russian Empire, and who in large measure used to speak a lot of Russian. They've gotten away from it, but they used to. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. And we're going to have a very important guest.
You were smiling in your sleep.
I know the perfect gift for Christmas. Go to Rudy.coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Well, let me wish everyone that's listening to America's Mayor Live happy third night of Hanukkah. I do think Hanukkah has always been a very, very important celebration. From the time that Judas Maccabee said that Jews should celebrate it every year. But let's say what happened over the weekend makes it even more important, doesn't it? And here's why it becomes more important. This is a holiday of joy and celebration. A lot of people say it was a lot of people that have certain element of anti-Semitism or want to make everything negative for the Jewish people say, oh, it was invented. The holiday was invented to substitute for Christmas. Well, it wasn't invented. First of all, it came about before Christmas. The holiday was about 250 years, if I calculate it correctly, before Christ. I may be wrong about that. I may even further back. But in any event, the holiday comes right out of a book in the Catholic Bible. Please, I don't want to get too esoteric with you. This is not in the Protestant Bible. It's in the Catholic Bible. The book of Maccabees is not included in the King James Version of the Bible. It is in the Douay-Rheims version of the Bible. and in all of the Septuagint and the early Greek versions of the Bible. I do not know why Luther took these books out, but the book of Maccabees has two books, Maccabees 1 and 2, and it tells about the wars fought by the Maccabees against first the Greek Seleucids and then against Rome in the case of the Greeks, in order to liberate their temple. And when they did liberate the temple, the Maccabees did, they had to purify it, because the Greeks were not Greek Orthodox like they are now. They were Greek pagans, and they celebrated all kinds of weird, crazy gods, and they defiled the temple. Of course, it was the one, as far as I can tell, the Jewish religion, until Christianity came along, was the one monotheistic religion in the world, meaning one God, which is why the first commandment is so important. And so when they got the temple back, they had to purify it. And they were going to purify it by lighting oil candles with special holy oil. But there was only a little bit of this holy oil left in the temple. And their ceremony to purify it had to be 8 nights. So they went and they lit all the oil they had and prayed to God to provide the rest of the oil, and God did. And for 8 days, there was enough oil to purify the temple. And when the 8 days were over, Judas Maccabee said this day should be celebrated at this time for as long as the Jewish people exist. So this is an important day, not the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. That's reserved for Yom Kippur, the Jewish New Year, but it's one of the important ones, and celebrated thoroughly throughout the Jewish history at that level. There was a period of time, because it is 8 days of reading scripture and reading blessings and having enjoyable foods, and also playing games with the children. The dreidel is the little thing that they use a lot. That at some point over 100 years ago, the Jewish people thought, oh, it would be nice if we added to this, and this is where this comes about. We added to this because there isn't a great deal of sacredness around this. This is supposed to be just a kind of, it doesn't have a formula like the Passover, which is a very strict formula to follow when you do the Passover. It's much looser, just to be fun. So they added the giving of gifts for 8 days so that the Jewish children who saw all the Christian children getting gifts would also get gifts. That's where the anti-Semites that are all over the place, unfortunately, started to say, oh, they invented the holiday. You know, probably when you're prejudiced, at core, you're ignorant. So then you make things up to fill in the prejudice, right?
Right.
So you want to say they added the gift thing 100, 150 years ago, fine. But you want to say they added the holiday, idiot, well, you read history. Or read your own Bible, if you read the Bible. And if you're a Catholic, read your version of the Bible, because it's specially contained in there. By the way, there was a beautiful message today of Happy Hanukkah from Cardinal Dolan. I wish I can find it, because it almost, well, I think it did.
We're going to play this first, but we'll find that.
It did. Oh, the guys came over to see me.
This was today.
That was just I made a very big mistake, and I asked him to stay for the ceremony.
Right. Well, we'll text them. I got their
Maybe
number.
they'll come back tomorrow.
Right. They were
Hopefully they're
excited.
still here. They're part of the Chabad here in Palm Beach. Now, you know that in Australia, it was the Chabad that was attacked. And the Chabad was having a first night of Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach, which is one of the most beautiful places in Sydney, Australia. And I know many people probably have not been to Australia because it is such a long trip. I happen to have been fortunate enough to go about 4 or 5 times. And particularly to Sydney, where I've also been to the opera 3 or 4 times. The opera house there is fabulous. So they celebrated, as I said, it's a little more of a loose holiday in the sense that because it was a holiday for joy, and that's the way Judas Maccabee started it, you get to have fun. So they do it at Bondi Beach. They light the first Hanukkah candle at Bondi Beach. And they've been doing this, I'll find out how many years, but for a very long time. And 2 people, father and a son, one of whom was on the list but never followed. 2 Islamic believers in Muhammad and believers in the strict Muhammad, which is, try to kill the Jews unless they convert. Got themselves what they thought was a place in paradise by killing some Jews.
Right. Well, Mayor, not to shift topics, but we want to be respectful of our guest here.
Yes, of course.
So we have with us now joining the show, John DePietro. He's the host and creator of Road Patrol Live. He's been maybe the top source, go-to source on the ongoing manhunt following the shooting at Brown University. John DePietro is with us now, live.
John, it's a great, great pleasure to have you with us.
Oh my God, what an honor to speak to. I met Mayor Giuliani. I want everyone to know, just quick story. I was living at 73rd in Columbus. I moved there in 1990. Mayor Dinkins was the mayor. It was a disaster. It was a war zone. It was Crown Heights.
1990. What was the occasion, John?
I had moved into work for ABC. And so, yep. And then I met you, fellow Itlow, at the Columbus Avenue Fair. And you signed, I think they had some pictures of you, like an illustration or something. And so I voted for you. And I remember you said, I'm going to turn this city around. And it started with Times Square, and then Disney came in, and I watched. I mean, that is still the greatest crime achievement of someone. And you and Bill Bratton and John Miller and the late nights at Elaine's at 92nd Street, and everyone should know, and the country should forever be indebted to you. And you're still the gold standard of how a mayor handles things in a crisis. Am I too dark,
John,
by the way? I could put out a light.
You couldn't be so kind. Is that your family in back of you?
It is actually, yeah. That's an illustration of them. I can put out a light if I'm dark.
He's like us. He's thinking about the lighting at all times.
I got my Christmas tree.
Hold on. Bear with me 1 second. Let me just put on a good light.
He wants to put on a light.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah, so he's going to put
heard you on television. We were very impressed.
Yeah, he wants to add a light for his shot. He's like us. We're always thinking of those things. So we'll give him a second here. He's going to put that on. He does
the radio too, like we did. Do you miss that, Ted?
Of course, I missed it.
You do radio every day, right, John?
I do, yeah. But
I did that for about 5 years until WABC kind of fired me.
Yeah, well, they're
I wanted to talk about the 2020 election. I told them to go. But in any event, I really missed that. I don't think people know a city better than the talk show people, because you get everything. So tell us about this Brown thing. It confuses us. First thing that confuses us, just as a mayor, the response time was 25 minutes. I didn't like that.
Yes.
I mean, if that were my police department, they'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Should have been about 5 or 10 minutes, but I don't think it had made a difference, because this guy, I think he knew who he wanted to shoot, and he shot
Yes.
her right away. Maybe he was after the other guy. I don't know. But it seems like he was after L, right?
I mean, there's speculation of that, Mayor, but I believe. I mean, I think you've certainly visited Brown. It's kind of like, in a way, Columbia it's a city campus. A lot of people think it's not a traditional college campus the way people would think it is. It's not like you're going across a quad. Brown University, much like Harvard with Cambridge, a lot of the professors live around there. The east side of Providence is, a very desirable place to live. Where this thing really just exploded off the wrong track is and by the way, I want to defend the Providence police. I work very closely
Please,
with Providence
please look.
police.
I love the police,
So,
except the
100%.
response time
Well,
is bothering me.
that's in dispute. Brown has their own police force. They were clearly caught off guard. Not security. They carry guns. They're Brown police. So granted, they handle a lot of robberies and breaking and entering and so forth. But there was some kind of confusion where some of the calls were actually going to the Providence Fire Department. So when the Providence police got there, number one, Brown University should have set off. Mayor, they have an alarm system goes off. They have, I've been up there when there's going to be a tornado warning, and you hear it, it echoes across the entire campus onto the city. They didn't activate that. And if you go on the Brown University website, one of the reasons they have this is for in case there's an active shooter. If they had activated that, as you're seeing the video of the shooter, or they believe the person to be the shooter leaving, you would have heard that. And then it really would have created urgency. So they go up. I also want to mention, so I cover crime. In this part of the country, as you know, there's not a lot of Republicans to cover, and I can't stand dealing with the Democrats. So what do? I ride with the police. I deal with ICE. I do with, a fugitive task force, and so I put all that video out. And so I'm with the police all the time.
Can I just say, you have a lot of fun.
I do. It is fun. And
I
listen,
shouldn't call it that, but I love riding with the police.
Yeah, and they're solid. And you know what? The funniest thing, Mayor, is the best thing that people love. People ask me all the time how it is. The most fun is when you're going 70 miles an hour with the lights blaring and you're whipping down the street.
We shouldn't tell people that, but that's true.
It's like being on a ride. But, and there's things that come along with that. I've done missing person cases. I was attacked with a running lawnmower. I had a protester, Black Lives Matter, took out my right eye with a green laser. I got stabbed by Antifa. No. So you have to wear the bulletproof. But anyhow, so as a result of that, I get up there, and the first thing the police had to do was they had to evacuate all the students that were in the shelter in place. So they had trouble getting into the dorms and the buildings where all the students were. So the police, who were so aggressive, now, when I was there at 4:45. This happened at 4:00. They still think maybe he's in one of these buildings. Maybe there's going to be more victims. They don't know what they're encountering. But
was he in fact, John? Was he in fact in and out very quickly?
He was. Yeah.
Yeah,
this was a
that way.
pro.
I mean, the theory is that he was after her, and maybe him.
I don't know.
And then a few shots, and he ran out.
But so what we learned today was he arrived in that area at 10:30 in the morning. And you see him at 2:00, Mayor, where he is pacing back and forth.
Is that the guy? Is that the guy we see walking?
Yes.
Back? The first couple of videos were very dull. They've enhanced them quite well.
They have.
And now you got videos there. You could do a pretty good identification of them. And
that's what they're hoping for.
But you've got artists that could probably recreate his face, even though he has a mask on.
Yeah, and because they need that. But you know what's unusual? And a profiler, a police officer said to me, where they think it could be a student or someone that would know people, is if you didn't know anyone, maybe you would be closer to the building. Why is he staying a block away? So then no one comes out and says, "Hey, there's Rudy Giuliani standing right there."
Yeah, with a mask on.
With a mask on. And so he's standing a block away and he's pacing, or is he trying to work himself up to it? But why shows up at 10:30 on a Saturday, not during the week? There's other busier places if he wanted to do, a full spray and shooting. You know what else, Mayor? and I think you can appreciate this. I don't think people. I've interviewed a lot of criminals, and I've interviewed around here wise guys that actually I can remember you on Federal Hill, and Buddy Cianci used to talk about you, and but you know what? I've interviewed guys that
I've been to Providence quite a bit.
oh yeah, you're
In fact,
loved up there.
one of my great memories is in 1986. I gave the commencement address at Providence College.
Wow,
And it was my
Yes.
first. It was my first commencement address, and I will
Wow.
admit I was a nervous wreck. And the Dominican fathers calmed me down. It was very nice.
Yeah. And Rick Pitino was the coach at the time, so we
Yep,
had two at
yep.
you had the
Well,
other at low.
Rick and I have since become friends, and it.
Right.
I
And he's
love Providence. Of course, Rhode Island at one time had the largest Italian American population in the country.
Yep, and certain pockets of it still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I interviewed a wise guy that told me he never did a job where he was not like 5 drinks in. I don't think people understand.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
but I don't think people understand the nerve. I don't want to call courage, but what does it take for someone to enter a building and you have a weapon? And a police officer was saying to me that he's not sure what to make of this, but saying, let's just say he was targeted, because there's a lot of talk about that Ella, the woman, the girl from Alabama, who's seen
beautiful.
as like a Ivy League rising female Charlie Kirk. So why not get her on the street? If you go in, he doesn't know if there's security in there. He doesn't know if they lock him in the auditorium. You know what else, Mayor? A couple things. And I'm going to share with you something that no one has heard yet. 2 things. One thing is that study, that was not like an exam. This was the pre-study before the exam. So it wasn't posted anywhere. So the only way people knew about that was a lot of the classes are posted online. This was not. So someone had to know about that. Here's what no one has learned. I've talked to the first responders. I've ridden with the first responders. As she is lying there, her cell phone keeps going off. And when she's lying there deceased, as they go over, they can see her cell phone pulsating, and it's saying "Dad." So that was her father calling her from Alabama, and they were so broken, the first responders, and it kept going off, and then kept going off, and then would silent. And then someone said, but it was brutal. They said you could hear it was like a funeral home. It was like a funeral. It was so quiet.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden you hear her cell phone coming on. And also the young man, some of his friends. Now, granted, some of their other friends are calling, but the caller ID that they see is Dad is popping up on her phone.
Daddy calling her from Alabama.
Yes, and not getting an answer. So very chaotic Saturday night.
There is the question that came up right at the beginning, and it's a very delicate one.
Yep.
But I saw that the professor who has given a statement about it, who actually the teaching assistant, who
Yes.
said that before the guy shot, he said something.
Yes.
But the teaching assistant couldn't make it out.
Correct. And that's
Now-
where the discrepancy is.
And then the early reports were he said Allahu Akbar.
I've heard that. But the
Now,
problem is
Is
and
that
you would-
is that?
well,
Tell me the status of that. I mean, where
Here's
does
the-
that stand?
here's the problem. You have some people that claim they heard that, and then you have other people that claim that's not what they heard.
Ooh.
So the police seem hesitant. They
That's
don't
fine.
want to put out any misinformation,
I'm okay with that. If
Yeah,
it really
it's
is in
tough.
doubt,
Yes.
I go back to the Obama administration when they used to hide it.
Yes.
Like a bunch of
Yeah.
Marines were shot, and the guys
Yes.
yelling Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
Right.
Allahu Akbar,
Yeah,
Allahu Akbar,
course.
killing you in the name of Allah.
Yep.
And it's not a terrorist killing. Come on, Obama.
Right.
But if it really is in doubt, then we shouldn't. I mean, the last thing in the world we need is to increase the anger.
Yes.
But if it really is Allahu Akbar, then we need to know it.
Exactly. And I think that's frustrating. I know it is a lot of people. Mayor, I don't think it's been highlighted enough that I left there Saturday night around 1:30. So I got there a little after 4:30 and then left at 1:30. When I left, they were still removing students from campus in buses.
Sure.
So there
So
was
you got there.
people.
Do it again. You got there at 4:30 in the afternoon.
The shooting was at 4. I got notified right away by my crew, and I was 10, 15 minutes away. So I was on the ground.
Now, you weren't working on Saturday, John, were you?
You know, when you do crime, I,
Yeah.
I'm working. I'm like the police.
Yeah,
I'm working
at
at
night,
all
too.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you gotta be ready to roll when it happens.
God
And
bless
so
you. God
I was
bless you. I love you.
first one on the ground, and I could tell it was chaotic. But
Don't we love
the reason I say that is when people are saying, like, why didn't they start the investigation right away? They had to make sure they were not convinced that this shooter was in one of the dorms or he had gone into one of the buildings, or first thing they had to do was clear all the buildings. Now you would know that's not easy, and that takes a while. So, fast forward, when they were then ready, okay, now we're going to really begin the investigation. Then it started snowing when I was leaving at 1:30.
Oh,
And then when I come back, I got back there around 6 o'clock. And at the 7 o'clock briefing, the FBI, they announced that they had a person of interest that they were detaining. So there was an
you have
exhale.
any idea who that was?
Um,
Was that
You know-
was that the guy? Was that the guy walking up and down?
no, it was not.
It's the
It
first
was-
individual they ended up releasing. I believe he was a young
Correct.
service member. Maybe we don't want to name him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
And he
not
was-
name them, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I know the police had good intention. The police, he was staying in a
Oh, no, I'm
community
sure they did.
kind of
Look,
far from Providence. And, when I got to the hotel after, they had a 7 o'clock press conference and a 12 o'clock press conference on Sunday. So then I get to the hotel and I can see them outside the window of the hotel, FBI, ATF, marshals, and local police. And so I go inside and I talk with my people. And they say, well, the guy is swearing he never left his room. And then when we checked the surveillance of the hotel, he doesn't leave his room. So they're thinking, could he have snuck out the window? He didn't sneak out the window. But here's why it's significant. On Sunday, Mayor, when I'm at the press briefing, the president of Brown says everybody can go home for the winter break. And I raise my hand and say, couldn't some of those people be witnesses? Are we positive it's this person of interest that's being detained? You could be sending the shooter home. Maybe it is a student. Like, we don't know. So they should not have sent all those people home, because then
Did
since
they
then,
do that?
yeah.
Yeah. They
So, so since then, they have said, if you're a student and you were in that building on Friday or Saturday, please contact the police for an interview. Well, I've been hearing from parents where, yeah, their child was left and flew to Los Angeles or flew to, Paris,
South Florida.
or
South Florida. Yeah, we had
or-
stories
We'll
of
go
students.
looking for them.
Though there are local stories
Yeah.
down here in South Florida of students returning home,
Let's go get 'em.
traumatized.
So they should have.
You're absolutely
that-
right. You're 100%.
I really
right.
jumped the gun, Mayor. It jumped the gun. And
Yeah.
then I just, because then I said, when are we doing the briefing again? And they planned on after the Patriots game. That was a big Patriot game against Buffalo. So then I was saying, do I have time to get something to eat and watch the first half of the game? And then they said probably be 4 o'clock. Then it was 6 o'clock. And then it's 7 o'clock.
Well, we know we
And
like
there's
him now
no-
'cause he's a football fan, right?
Yeah, no briefing. And then it's because the story fell apart. This guy at the hotel did have weapons, but when they tested him, there was no, he was, it is an example. He was truthful with police, and he enabled the police to clear him.
Oh,
So then they sent him on his way. But here's the problem. The investigation, they lost all of Sunday. So the investigation really started yesterday morning. And I was up there, and then suddenly, there's so many FBI agents. And at one point,
I
Mayor,
love
there were
those guys. I work with them forever. I'm going to give them some
Yep.
advice. There's a 70% chance. I work on statistics. I did way back in the 80s.
Yep.
There's a 70 to 80% chance he's still in the area.
Wow.
I mean, you would think he'd get the hell out of there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's what a good mafia hitman does.
Yes.
He goes
And
to
this is,
Calabria, boom, gone.
you
But,
know, I was talking.
These guys stick around, so they have a chance. They still have a chance to catch him. And
I hope so.
And I'll tell my friend Cash Patel, you got enough on that video.
Yeah.
Way back when I used to do this, which is in
Yes.
ancient times.
Oh,
You got it. You got enough to get that face. Yeah, I know he's got a mask on, but there are sketch artists that are capable. If you can get a good enough shot of recreating that face, probably about 70, 80% of accuracy. And I've caught people that way. So there's a chance you can get the guy, you can get the face.
Yeah.
So don't. I mean, I know I do see they're scouring the area, which I like.
Oh,
That's
unbelievable!
good
Great
police
search.
work.
Yeah. May they had 450 police officers there
Good.
on
Good.
Saturday.
That's great.
And then with FBI, it's the same thing. And for those that are watching, if you go on, you see I'm right there walking behind the FBI filming the whole thing. Just I'm trying to show them as much support. Providence Police thrown into this. By the way, you should know, Mayor, on Sunday, during the day, the mayor of Providence, they were saying basically that he had handled this crisis in like Giuliani fashion.
Good.
That you set the gold standard, of 9/11 of how to handle it. Now, granted, it was false because they all thought like, wow, less than 12 hours and they got the guy.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. I mean, look, I've arrested the wrong people plenty of times before I got to the right one. This is a dynamic. The main thing is to keep pressing, not give up.
Yes.
Keep pressing.
Yes.
Because one of the things that is true, the more time that goes by,
Yes.
the less of a chance of solving it. So you gotta get on it right away.
Yep.
They got a lot of things going for them. That video is dynamite. I mean, you should be able to use that video and turn it around.
Okay.
And we should try and figure out, for the good of the world, what the hell he said.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess
agree.
we'll find, if we can catch him, we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
If the guy has nothing to do with Islam, well, then that was a mistake. But if he's a dedicated Islamic extremist, then we got a different situation, right?
Yeah. And they have had some of that. There's an international studies there. So I covered after October 7th, they had pro-Hamas rallies in and around Brown. Obviously Harvard, MIT had them. And so there is a contingent of that. It wasn't as violent.
No, because
as Columbia
you
was.
didn't hear about it as much. Yeah, it
No,
wasn't like
no.
Harvard or Columbia.
No. Or UPenn, where they were out of control. Something I want to put on your radar, though, and this is something to look at. Now, I think you agree, whoever this was, they certainly seem cautious. The mask, he's not totally running when he leaves. He's just walking at kind of a quick
Yeah.
pace.
He knew what he was doing.
So knew what he was doing.
It's a pro.
He didn't,
or semi-pro.
Semi-pro. But to me, as a police officer said to me, you're going to feel pretty confident you know how to handle a weapon, that you're going to go in and actually use it. Because otherwise, who's to say it doesn't jam and then the crowd turns on you? But I don't know. This isn't getting enough play yet. So this happened Saturday afternoon at 4:00. Hanukkah starts Monday. He arrived, the first time we see him is Saturday morning at 10:30. So he's there all day and he's walking around. But last night, a Jewish professor from MIT in Brookline, Mass, someone right near Fenway Park, someone knocks at his door and he opens the door and he's executed right there.
Yeah.
And that is just taking off. So as a police, that's 2 nights later. So as a police officer said to me, is that the same guy? And then another officer said, an FBI agent said to me, he said, I don't think people appreciate
No, they
what
don't.
it takes to knock on a door and then someone opens and you open fire and kill them right in their foyer in their front room.
Now, when did that
So
take place?
last night,
Last night,
yes, in Brookline,
somebody knocked
Mass.
on the door of a rabbi,
He's a
An MIT
no,
professor.
an MIT, Jewish
MIT
MIT
professor who's
professor.
Jewish. Yep. And they have the menorah in the window and the whole thing. Oh, somebody's knocking at the door. He opens the door in Brookline and boom, shoots them 4 or 5 times. No robbery, and leaves. Is it the same guy?
How far is Brookline from Providence?
Not far.
50
an
minutes.
hour?
Less
50
than an
minutes,
hour.
less than an hour.
Yeah, about an
Yeah.
hour. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll be interesting to see if the news is making this connection. John, another question we have, and we're not going to name names. What do you make of what we're hearing about this one potential individual at Brown? Any mention of him on the website has been scrubbed.
Yes.
The university came out with a statement, but what do you make of that without naming the individual?
I know that individual. And I'll tell you why I know him. I was at a pro-Hamas. They took over, a bunch of these students took over the Rhode Island School of Design, RISD, Mayor, right at Rhode Island School of Design is right at the base of the Brown campus. It's all on College Hill. So a bunch of RISD, Rhode Island School of Design is an art college, very well esteemed. They took over a building. So I was covering, it was basically a pro-Hamas Palestinian takeover rally. As I am there, this guy comes over, a bunch of the students, they circle me, they recognize me. They're like, he's with the police. So this one of them gets in my face and he's very aggressive and he's yelling and swearing at me in Arabic. And another student came over and said, I thought he said, I won't say the name, but it's similar to the name in Lion King of one of the characters in Lion King. As a matter of fact, I think there was a follow-up movie about that person. So I'm caught off guard. So I say, yeah, get Lion King over to the side. So the reason I would remember that, and one of my crew said, hey, you encountered that guy. You said you made the reference to Lion King. Because, Mayor, his name was not Rudy or John or Harry or David or anything. It was an odd name. And then when I saw his photo, my crew, they were saying that was the guy that got up in your face. And they're pulling him away. And this guy, he went 0 to 60 with temper. He went like, boom, lightning. As soon as they said to him, because I'm Roman Catholic, Italian, Irish, but I sit on the board. I'm a board member of the Rhode Island Coalition for Israel. What Rhode Island Coalition for Israel?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
we're on the same target, my friend. I'm Catholic, and I'm also I just had a bunch of Chabad people here celebrating Hanukkah with me.
Yes, and they reach out to me because I help them sometimes with if there's any crime in certain neighborhoods. But anyhow, so one of them said he's with, basically said he's with the Jews, and this guy flared
You're
up.
with the Jews. Thank God. Jesus
Holy cow!
maybe because Jesus was a Jew, huh?
Yes, and I recognize. So I spent 15 days in Israel, and we went to the West Bank, and we were also in Gaza. This is like way back, but
Yeah.
we encountered this guy they were detaining, and it was an Arab and a Palestinian, and he was going after the Israeli police, and it flashed like that's what I thought of. Like I hadn't heard anyone talk in that manner from
So
when
could
I
he-
was in the
could he-
West
could-
Bank.
Could he be a suspect?
So what do you make about the fact they scrubbed him? I understand.
What do you mean scrubbed him? What does
they
that mean?
Scrubbed him from the website. He had a
Yeah,
page on the website.
Who did? Brown?
This individual that we're not naming at this time,
we're not.
who has been. A lot of folks online have circulated his information. A lot of you may understand, especially with the Lion King reference, who we're speaking about. This individual, any reference to him was removed from the brown.edu website. And
Yes.
the university is now coming out, I believe, and has said the reason for that is in order to protect their students from doxing. However, John, I mean, what you're telling us now is that you had a very aggressive
Yes.
interaction with this individual.
Oh, yeah.
That should concern folks. So, I mean, we don't want to speculate here, but what do you make of all this? Does Brown have a history of?
Why would, but no, Ted, let me ask you something. Why would they remove this guy from the website? How could this one person affect the Brown students?
Well, because
It would affect him.
online today, there's been a lot of circulating of this person's face and his name without the police, without official authorities making any comments on the individual. So the university may have removed.
Was he like an extremist?
Yes, this is
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, you can say John has met him.
He was an Islamic extremist.
He was a Palestinian.
Palestinian.
He's a
Yep.
Palestinian with ties to pro-Palestinian groups.
Yeah.
We had a paper out there. So
And what was his tie to Brown?
he was a student, a visiting fellow, something of that
Yes,
nature.
exactly. But definitely known on the campus. Definitely known. I don't know about a leader,
Yeah.
but during the flare up after October 7th, I attended a rally where they were saying, I still the glory to our martyrs, which is basically paying tribute to the Hamas members that attacked on October 7th. So anyone uses that language, I want to be very clear, and I appreciate, but we don't know if he's involved.
Right.
But
We're not
here-
naming
here-
him. We're not naming him.
We don't.
But
the
I can
fact
tell you this
they
though.
make
I
it-
can tell you.
But
I
John,
can tell you this though. But no, they cannot find him. So I went to one building today where I knew of another student, and I went and said I'd like to try to find. I won't say who it was, and she said, "Oh, he's gone." I said, "Well, when's he coming back?" And the girl said, "Oh, he took a flight Saturday night out of Kennedy, and he flew to, I don't know, Denmark, or he's already in Belgium, or so."
Wait,
There's
no.
several-
She made the point that he flew to a different country.
I was asking out of the country. I was actually asking about a different student that I was aware of.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't ask about that particular one.
Oh,
But
okay. This is
just,
a difference.
Just as an example,
Right.
this is, and Mayor, you can address that. This is problematic because it's not like the police could just go and bring these people in for questioning. They're not in Massachusetts. They're not in Florida. They're not in New York. Some of them are around, other parts of the world.
well, that's why they operate. I mean,
Yes.
Well, that's where by the university releasing students,
Yes.
apparently prematurely. This is
one other question, Sean, before we let
Go
you
ahead.
go. If
Okay.
you don't mind, we would love to have you back in the next.
Yeah, definitely.
We follow this because you really are. You're terrific. From the very beginning, right?
Yep.
The feeling about this is they're holding information back. And there can be good reasons for that, and there can be bad reasons for that. I mean,
Yeah.
the good reasons are investigative. The bad reasons are they engage politically incorrect subjects that we don't want to talk about.
right.
Right.
So
Let me touch on
tell
that.
me how you feel.
Sunday
You
night.
feel comfortable about the investigation? Because
Sunday
I would
night.
really rely on you. You've got so much
Yeah.
experience with police investigations. And then I'll
and
tell
Mayor,
you
you-
afterwards my feeling about it. But I want to hear you.
You would like this command staff a lot. You would like this command staff. This command staff at the Providence Police Department. And by the way, my grandfather on my mother's side was. a
Yeah,
Providence
I
police
do
officer.
actually. I'm going to
So-
tell you, I
Yeah.
like what I see.
Yeah, but here's the problem. On Sunday night, when they had to announce that they released this guy, it was very embarrassing.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I was there Sunday, and they were outranked, by the way, by the FBI. Paramilitary operation. FBI comes in, takes over. Okay, we got your suspect, or we have your person of interest. So Sunday night, it was egg on their face. They're very embarrassed. So at this point, they only want to put out something that will benefit the investigation. For instance, we want to know
That's
what was
understandable.
said, and we want to say things. But right now, they're being very, very cautious. I
Okay.
think if they didn't have the whole situation of the person detained, person of interest, and then released, I think they would be more relaxed and maybe a little more confident. That really threw everybody.
Right.
When I
So
left the
you don't think you're
briefing,
getting all the information you would normally get?
but I police always hold stuff back. I mean, they always do. I mean, because for various reasons, as you know, otherwise people backfill and they don't want to. I was doing a case. They were looking at someone, and you know this, and people may not understand this, but if they say to someone, did you leave your house that night? And the guy says no, and then they say, well, we have you down the street riding by. The suspect could say, oh, that's right, I couldn't sleep, so I went for a ride. You never want to give them a chance to alter their story. So they understand it's high profile. I feel very
It is.
confident about the Providence police. I do.
Good.
And they,
I feel better about that.
yeah, no, they're the real deal. Again, they're not inexperienced. I've dealt with some
Good.
police that are in over the head.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
not the case. So, but make no mistake about it. This is, look what happened with New York City with Luigi, right? I mean, he bikes out of Central Park, then he's in the taxi, then he's on the bus at 125th Street. If granted he left some DNA, but if he is more careful at McDonald's, if the person in McDonald's in Pennsylvania doesn't recognize the eyebrows, he could. I don't know. I'm not saying they never would have got him,
But he been
but
gone for a long time. You're right.
yes,
You're right. I
and
mean,
one last thing I want to leave with you. This is how people should think of this, and this is going to frighten some people. But I was talking with a member of a FBI agent today, and he said the way people should think of this is the January 6th pipe bomber. If you look at that video, that individual, first of all, it took 5 years to get that person for whatever
right,
reason,
that's ridiculous.
right?
Yeah.
It is. But if you watch the videos, that individual, very cautious, right? Walk, sit down on a bench, look
Yeah, they are.
around,
They have a lot of similarities.
circle
Charlie.
around like
You're
that.
right.
This individual, he's walking down the street. He's looking for where cameras are. He's, I do want to share with the element of the hands behind the back. As one police officer said, I work the college campus. You don't see young kids walk with their arms behind their
Yeah,
back.
that's no young kid.
That's not a young kid. That's also a trait of someone either from Europe or they do it in the Middle East. Middle Eastern people. There's a restaurant I go to. The owner's a friend of mine. He's Lebanese. He's from Lebanon, and he walks. And his son walks around with their arms behind their back. It's just not where I go for a run each day. There's a guy that walks his dogs, and he walks with his hands behind his back. But most people don't. And I found that somewhat interesting. So I don't think this is going to be solved right away. Everybody's tired. You can appreciate that.
Yeah.
They have been going nonstop. They're feeling the heat. They want to update people, but it is a city in panic right now.
Well, we're going to
mean,
keep
people-
checking in with you, John,
Yes.
because
All
I
right.
think you can give us, a really good grounding on what the hell's
100%.
going on and
What
what isn't.
an honor. Wait till I tell
And
my kids who
Well,
you would
what an
love that I
honor.
was
I
on
have
with
to
Mayor
tell you,
Giuliani.
I got to tell you, you get an A+ as a crime reporter.
Wow. Thank you, Mayor.
You are
Wow.
fabulous.
That is huge. Well,
Wow. John,
you got to live it. I'll tell you. You got
I
to
love
be
you.
there.
Okay.
You got to be there. So, Mayor, anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime.
We'll be
All right,
talking
guys.
to
Great.
I
Stay in
was gonna,
touch as
I was
this
gonna
event-
wish you Merry Christmas, but we're going to be talking to you before Christmas.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
All
Good
right.
night, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you, John. Thank you very much for giving us so much of your time and your expertise. And you don't know what it means to have a guy that knows the streets of Providence. When I was a prosecutor and an investigator, if I had this guy, man, I'd solve this thing a lot faster than they do. But you can't judge by me. I was like a genius at this. Isn't that terrible for me to say that? It really is. But I have to be fair. I think I already have it kind of figured out listening to him. I'd like to talk to him offline a little bit. I have a pretty good idea of what happened here now. That guy is terrific. You can't substitute for, I don't know, 20 years of experience in Providence. And then he comes from New York, right? So he has the New York experience as well. So that's fabulous.
Right.
So let's see what else we have to cover now that we are in soccer time. Have we done all of our necessary commercials? And
We've done the
Make
commercials.
sure
Maybe
you-
we'll play the Rudy Coffee Christmas one again. It's
no,
it's
but
fun.
here's what I want to do. I want to tell you that we've been talking about national security quite a bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've been talking about what's going on in Syria. We lost two very, very wonderful members of our military in Syria. Well, you get online right now and you make the $11 pledge to t2t.org, in honor of them and in honor of the men and women who put their lives down, lose them to protect you, whether they're in the military or they're here as part of our homeland defense. Because T2T shows up every time it happens, within a day or two at most, and takes the weight off the survivor by saying we're going to pay the mortgage, and then we're going to help any other way we can. And the way that is possible is if you make your $11 contribution to t2t.org. And during the holiday season, I mean, this is when most people think of things like this. People we should gift and people we should help. And who better to do that with than the people who put their lives at risk for us? And we have just seen an example of putting our lives at risk for us is not just a saying. It happened in Syria. Someone in the name of Muhammad came and killed two of our brave members of the United States National Guard, the military. So their families have to be taken care of. We can't protect all of them. We can't prevent all of it. But we can be there if, God forbid, the worst thing happens. So now we advertise every night for t2t.org, but this is Christmas season. This is a season in which attacks are taking place on us from this 1,400-year plague on us called Muslim. Desire to kill Christians and Jews. Now, you tell me most Muslims don't have that desire. I agree. But a lot do. And I'd like to hear the ones who don't speak up. Then I could feel more confident that most Muslims don't. But I don't hear them say anything. And I'm getting tired of it. I've been saying this too long now. You know, the first night of September 11th, one of the first things Bernie Kerik and I did was put out patrols to protect the Islamic community. Nothing happened to them. But I lost thousands of my own people to Muhammad. Nothing happened to them. I protected them. And I don't remember their speaking up very strongly on our behalf, nor do I see it now. And that's the part that is really necessary if we're going to turn this. If we're going to change this 1,500 curse. The Muslims who don't agree that you should kill Jews and you should kill Christians and you should wipe out the infidels. And I'm sure there are a lot of Muslims that don't agree with that. Let them come over and condemn the people who do that each time they do it. It'll stop it. But that hasn't happened yet. And that's what we want to happen, Ted.
That's right, Mayor. And again, following up on what John had shared with us, this is breaking news tonight. And this is fast moving news. Excuse me for the this is an MIT professor. So an MIT professor.
Oh yeah, John,
been
yes,
shot.
I wrote that down. The MIT Jewish professor who was someone knocked on his door and killed him.
MIT professor of nuclear science and physics, Nuno Loreo. I'm sorry, we want to get the name correct in this incident, but this is a professor of nuclear science and physics. He was just shot and killed at his home in Brookline,
When you say
Massachusetts,
just shot and killed, how long ago?
last night.
Last night.
So this is not just.
So
Again,
this wasn't covered?
this has been covered. Well, I did mention it today as we were talking about. There's just so much fast moving news here. So
Yeah.
my apologies. I'm also bringing up pictures of him as we talk to you here. So bear with us. This is a picture of the professor.
What's his name?
His name, and again, we want to get his
Murder?
pronunciation right. Nuno
I can probably
Loureiro.
pronounce it. Murder?
Loureiro.
He's a Harvard professor?
MIT.
Same thing. MIT. Okay.
So again,
don't
apologize. This is fast moving information here. MIT professor shot and killed Monday night at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. Again, that's just 50 minutes away from Providence. And officials say he did, in fact, have strong pro-Israel views.
He had strong pro-Israel.
He was pronounced dead Tuesday morning. The shooter is at large. The professor was in MIT's Department of Nuclear Science and Engineering and the Department of Physics, and was also director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center. Again, this happened last night at his home. Monday night, he was fatally shot at his Brookline home.
Okay, we got all everything.
Now, it is interesting. Again, you can't help but make the connection. This is Brookline, Massachusetts, just under an hour away from Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So again, this Monday night, he was pronounced dead Tuesday morning. So he was brought to the hospital with gunshot wounds. This is an active and ongoing homicide investigation.
His name is Nino F.J. Loureiro. He's a 47-year-old professor of nuclear science and engineering and physics at MIT. He was fatally shot multiple times in the foyer of his home on Gibbs Street in Brookline, Massachusetts. He was transported to a hospital where he died early on December 16th,
That's this morning.
2025. Authorities, including the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, Massachusetts State Police, and Brookline Police are investigating this, as an active homicide. They're damn well better. No suspects are in custody and limited details have been released. Loureiro was the director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, a prominent research in plasma physics and fusion energy, originally from Portugal. MIT President Sally Kornbluth described his death as a shocking loss, and the university is providing support to the community. Neighbors reported hearing loud shots around 8:30 to 9 p.m., followed by a child crying. One neighbor described seeing Loureiro on the floor and calling 911. There is no confirmed link to other recent incidents, for example, the Brown University shooting. So that's what we have. What you're telling me is he was an outspoken supporter of Israel.
That's what we are reading. We're trying to get information on his family makeup. Again, this is a child that was heard screaming. You said after the shooting, Mayor, there was a scream?
Yes.
Okay. So we're trying to get information on whether or not he had a family, which would explain.
Neither would explode. Wait. Are
So-
you asking about something specific like fireworks, bombs?
So homicide detectives are investigating after this professor was found shot to death in his home. And again, this happening Monday night. just 48 hours after the shooting at Brown University. And our understanding is that he was pro-Israel.
You know, the worst part of this is when you talk about Massachusetts, we're in the hands of very, very politicized, possibly law enforcement.
Yep. He did have a wife and young children.
And it's very hard for me, who never experienced that, to work my way through that. Are they telling us the truth? Are they holding things back? Do they have a political bias in what, you know?
And the university bias.
There's nothing in Massachusetts that I trust. Not a single thing. So, and excuse me if you're the Massachusetts police or the Boston police, but your bosses are seem to me to be working for the other side. So,
and how about the news media? The fact that, I mean, this story, and again, we don't want to jump to conclusions, but it cannot be ignored that this shooting at a, well, I don't know if is MIT Ivy.
Somebody walks up to the door of an MIT Jewish professor on the second night of Hanukkah or whatever it was. Yeah, the second night of Hanukkah, last night, and shoots and kills.
Right. Second night.
And he's an outspoken supporter of Israel. I don't know. You don't have to be much of a reporter to figure out that there's a story there.
Right. Now, of course, you got to leave open the possibility of something happening within the Department of Physics.
But they never leave open any possibilities when it goes the other way.
Of course not. Well,
I mean, the most obvious connection is an outspoken supporter of Israel, professor at MIT, gets shot in cold blood on the second night of Hanukkah.
Right.
Now, there might be some other reason. Maybe the guy has some other problem, but what's the thing that first comes to mind? The political situation, right?
That's right. Now, going back to the Brown incident, the university has come out and explained the removal of this individual's information from the website. Again,
this is the president of Brown who basically didn't know any of the details of this for 4 hours.
Right.
She was so interested in what happened.
Right.
How long is she going to be? Are you going to keep her on for a long time at Brown? I mean, just keep her on so more irresponsible things can happen.
Yeah, it's clear that she
must have been some kind of liberal fix.
Well, and they're unwilling to say much at the time, and eventually reporters got fed up with it. And
when I heard her on the press conference, it didn't strike me as the kind of intellect that should be running an Ivy League school. Listen to her.
With all due respect, 6 hours after the shooting, and you said you don't know what was going on in that classroom. How does that happen? Were they taking an exam? Were they meeting for a club?
I don't know.
6 hours later, and you're the president, and you don't know.
I do not know.
Oh.
6 hours later.
Why have a press conference
and you don't know? What the hell are you doing at the press conference?
Right.
We don't need you, sweetheart.
Right.
President of Brown, why don't you go off and have a cocktail or something?
That sure inspires confidence. If you're a parent with a student.
6 hours later, you don't know what happened, and you're the president of Brown.
That sure inspires.
You just had a unbelievably brutal double homicide on your campus. How often do you have that, sweetheart? Boy, I mean, what does it take for the board to figure out you're useless? I have no idea what your area of study is or what your expertise is, but why don't you go do that? There are several nice monasteries around where you could do that and not harm people. But 6 hours later and you don't know? What do they give the Ivy League schools for tuition? $90,000 a year?
Here's the president today.
I want to begin by thanking the many law enforcement agencies who continue to work around the clock on this case. It's very impressive. I also want to thank the mayor and the governor for their continued support. The primary point that I wanted to address before we get to questions is that Brown is deeply committed to the safety and security and well-being of our community. And I've been deeply saddened to see people questioning that. We understand that as time goes on, there is maybe a natural instinct to assign responsibility for a tragic event like this. Anxiety and fear is very natural, but the shooter is responsible. Horrific gun violence took the lives of these students and hospitalized others. And it's deeply sad and tragic that schools across the country are targets of violence. Brown is no exception. We are cooperating fully with law enforcement, and again, we thank the multiple agencies that have been working so hard day and night with increased patrols to keep our campus safe.
Well, she kind of contradicted herself. The shooter is responsible, but prolific gun violence is also responsible. No, it's either one or the other. I mean, the shooter is the one who activates the gun. Prolific gun violence, you'd assume the gun activates itself.
Right.
And by the way, you don't do a good job on either. On either one. Like, for example, if the teaching assistant who was conducting that study review and class had a gun, Elle would be alive tonight. We could have blown his brains out.
Right.
He says he saw him. He made eye contact with him. And then he ducked. Suppose we were in Texas, not in Rhode Island, Massachusetts. The guy had a gun. And he made eye contact with me, so the gun come out. Suppose he was sort of a John Wayne type. And he just reached in, pulled the gun out. We'd have 2 innocent people alive tonight, Professor, that aren't alive now. And you want to preach to me about guns? You got you got the most strict gun laws in the world in Rhode Island. It didn't help keep those 2 young people alive. You didn't do much to keep them alive either. You didn't know what happened until 6 hours. What were you doing? Are you a football? Were you watching football? Come on. Try to snow somebody else, okay? This is what is happening throughout the Ivy League. This is what they're like. This is their intellectual arrogance, which takes the place of intellectual laziness, which they have in large, large measure. And I don't know how this is going to come out. I don't know who did this. I don't know even if the theory that it was the target of this, which seems to be everyone's assumption. And I don't have any reason to dispute that or agree with it. But the reality is something is amiss in the state of Denmark, which means Brown University. And before we finish this, we got to find out what it is. So it doesn't happen again. Hopefully the focus on it, hopefully the focus on it will reveal that. And we can do something positive here with these 2 young people at the beginning of extraordinarily promising lives that were just sitting in at a review class at the Barrison Holly Engineering and Physics building in Brown. One of them, the young man, just accompanying a friend, and the other is a very good student who now are gone. Their lives no longer exist. Their futures no longer exist. We don't know why yet. Well, we got to find out why so we can prevent it from happening in the future. And we got to get through a lot of the Ivy League cover-up and left-wing cover-up and
right
to get there. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes, we will. With
Sydney is a little clearer. That was done in the name of Muhammad. They did that because the Quran tells them to do it. When you change the Quran, maybe you'll stop it. And when I have to stop saying, well, most of the Muslims are really very, very good people, and they don't engage in murder, and they have nothing to do with murder. When they take that Quran and they strike out all that crap in it about killing Jews and doing away with Christians, and they do the same thing with the Hadith and the biography of their pedophile murderer, then we'll get somewhere. And until we can stand up and be courageous enough to say that's what we're facing, we'll get somewhere.
You know, for decades, Mayor, I don't know, maybe it's changed a little, but for decades, it was off limits to make any jokes about Islam or the Muslim faith. Meanwhile, you know, Christianity wide open.
Well, no, sure, jokes
Jewish
about it.
jokes.
There's nothing joking about a pedophile murderer like Muhammad. He's not a joke.
I guess that wasn't the right.
He was a pervert. There's even a doubt whether he existed, but if he existed, he is a hell of a model for a religion that makes you question whether it should be a religion, whether it should be granted the same scope that a religion that is not about the killing of people is granted. Well, we've covered that. I think we've covered most everything. I do want to make a statement about marijuana and cannabis, because the president is going to reclassify them to make them more available as a prescription drug. That's a terrible mistake, Mr. President, my good friend. Every study that has come out in the last 5 years has, from everywhere, started in Europe, and then it got the courage of America to do it. There is a big, big cannabis industrial military complex paying for us to make marijuana more available. That would be a terrible mistake. It would be just enormously destructive to the youth of America. Every study that has come out in the last 5 to 6 years, since we went crazy on the idea of making marijuana legal, has shown that marijuana is exceedingly dangerous. It is more dangerous than alcohol, without any question. It has an effect on the brain that in several ways is very, and the younger you are, the more effective this is. It tends to reduce your ability to engage in cognitive thinking. It also has a tremendous connection, like a 20 to 30% higher connection with mental illnesses involving violence. The Journal of the American Medical Association says that clinical trials do not support the use of cannabis for most conditions for which it is promoted, such as acute pain or insomnia. There are much better alternatives. So this idea to use medical marijuana is just the same thing as making marijuana legal. It's in order to help organized crime and the people who deal in drugs to have a greater audience, a larger number of people. Every time you legalize this, more people become addicted. We've already gone through this. Every place we've legalized marijuana, the number of people using marijuana has gone up 2 or 3 times. Then, worse than that, the ingredients, the power of them, has gone up 2 or 3 times in order to compete. It doubles your risk of heart disease and stroke. Even at the earlier, this is a study from the American Medical Association. It vastly increased the risk of psychosis and anxiety disorder. Almost 30% of the people using marijuana met the criteria for cannabis use disorder, otherwise known as addiction. Do you know that people using opioids are only at 3 to 12%? So people using opioids become addicted. 3 to 12% of the people using opioids, depending on the situation, become addicted to opioids. 30% of the people using marijuana do. Marijuana users are 51% more likely than non-users to have a heart attack. I don't want to tell you what the percentage is on brain damage. And the younger they use it, the more the brain damage becomes permanent. And it doesn't matter if it's medical marijuana or non-medical marijuana. It does the same damn damage to your brain. 38 states and Washington, D.C. now let doctors make medical marijuana recommendation. In Pennsylvania in 2022, 17 doctors issued an astounding 132,000 medical marijuana certifications. In other words, this little group of doctors is 1/3 of the state certifications because it's a little industry. Because the medical marijuana was an excuse to get marijuana. You got to be stupid to figure that out. One 2024 study found that the connection between daily cannabis use and higher rates of violence, especially among young people, was at 30%. A massive Danish study linked the drug to as many as 30% of schizophrenia cases among young people. A Colorado study where, you can't drive around Colorado without getting high. It's in the air. They have so much damn cannabis there. Is that it has a direct relationship to the tremendous rise in property crime. A landmark 2024 study found a strong connection between legalized recreational pot and increases in murder, larceny, and other crimes. So I know Big Weed has done a great job of paying off the politicians to see if we can expand it even more. All of the assumptions and all of the arguments about legalizing marijuana for medical use or for recreational use have turned out in studies to be catastrophic. Mr. President, please. These people that are talking here, they go back about 10 years. They haven't read any of the studies that have taken place in the last 10 years. And they're just plain wrong. And they probably have an economic interest with pot farms and who knows what the hell else. Now, you want one other thing? This whole thing about how medical marijuana is much better than other things for medical marijuana is pretty much useless. This is a big review that was done at UCLA, hardly a right-wing audience. They analyzed more than 2,500 scientific papers. No solid clinical evidence that medical marijuana works. It also has very significant and determinable side effects called insomnia, anxiety, PTSD, Parkinson's disease, rheumatoid arthritis. It has no clear positive result, and it has very, very clear negative results. Finally, the long-term studies suggest that if it's used with adolescents, people face high rates of psychotic symptoms. This is not the time to be loosening up on medical marijuana. This is the time to be. Let's pull it back in, huh? Save our kids. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. We got plenty more to cover. We never get through everything that we have.
You want to hear Cardinal Dolan's?
I do. We'll finish with Cardinal Dolan's statement to show the inextricable and unbreakable connection between all of us who believe in Jesus Christ and the Jewish religion. After all, that's the religion that he died as part of. Jesus was a Jew. And everything he said in the Gospels and in his life and in his teaching tells us to love and respect the religion from which we emerge. And those of us who veered from that, we have a hard time calling ourselves Christians. So let's listen to Cardinal Dolan, who is just a wonderful man.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Cardinal Timothy Dolan, the Monday of this third week of Advent and the first day of Hanukkah for our Jewish neighbors. I don't know if you remember, sadly, here in New York, hearing about there was a terribly mean protest outside one of our Jewish synagogues here in New York City. So sad, so tragic, so troubling. And the crowd was yelling out to the Jewish people going into the synagogue for Sabbath, "Be scared, be scared." Can you imagine them shouting to these poor people who simply wanted to worship the one true God? Be scared, all right? We remember the words of the Bible, be not afraid. Be not afraid. Jesus says it. He learned it from his Father. It's the most common phrase in the Bible. We're not scared at all because we believe in God, the Father Almighty, and his only Son, whose birthday we await. We're not scared at all because he told us, be not afraid.
Thank you, Cardinal. You make me very proud. So pray for the people of Israel and pray for the people of Ukraine, the people of Iran who are in harm's way. Pray for our soldiers who, as we find out, always very surprisingly are in harm's way to protect us. Pray for our police, same thing. And pray for these people like this young man and woman who died at Brown. Who knows why? We'll find out. We owe it to them to find out, and to their families, and to the families of the soldiers who lost their lives way far away in Syria. So let's pray to God for help and assistance in all of this. And of course, let's proclaim together with great strength and great certitude what we need. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze.